Well, it was only 2 more than it was in the last Parliament, and it was there was no grouping at all at the end of the last Parliament before the last election. There were 8 senators, and the government needed 6 to get a majority. In this current Parliament, there are 10 senators. The government needs 8 to achieve a majority. You're right, there's no groupings. Well, there are groupings. There's still Pauline Hanson with 2, and the Centre Alliance with 2, and there's our informal alliance with 3, maybe 4 if Brian joins us. So I don't think it's any more wieldy than it has been since 2014. Now, you only use the word unwieldy if you're a Labor voter or a Liberal voter. They think it's unwieldy, but the rest of us don't. Well, I'm delighted that they've stolen one of the Liberal Democrats' policies. It's been our policy for a long, long time. The reasons that the Liberals are calling for that are interesting. In some cases, they're doing it because they don't like the progressive left bias of the ABC. I don't think that's a very good reason to call for it to be privatised. The fact is the ABC costs over $1 billion a year to taxpayers. There's no need for that money to be spent because the private sector will do it. That $1 billion could be spent on schools and hospitals and other things. It's not as if there's an endless amount of taxpayers' money. It's competing with the private sector. That's a good reason to privatise it. It's been Liberal Democrats' policy forever to privatise the ABC. Well, in fact, privatising it is not quite the right word. It's not a commercial enterprise, so privatising it in the way that the Commonwealth Bank was privatised and Qantas was privatised is not really appropriate. Taking it out of the hands of government ownership and putting it into the hands of people who own it, shareholders of some description, is probably a better description. The book by Chris Berg and Sinclair Davidson recommended giving it away, giving it to the employees or giving it to Australians. The problem is, of course, the large number of the people who support the ABC don't pay for it because they don't pay tax. Half the country doesn't pay tax, and yet a lot of those people who don't pay tax have got very loud voices. Yeah, it's an unsustainable argument for Labor to say nobody should have a tax cut. They just can't tell the Australian public, oh no, you're all paying enough, quite enough tax, and there's no need for you to pay any less. It's an unsustainable argument, politically unsaleable, I think. Everybody knows they pay too much tax. So if they know that the government is not going to accept a split bill, then the question is, why would you want to split it in the first place? You might as well pass it when it comes up in the Senate to begin with, and not go through the process of sending it to the House of Reps and having it bounce back again. My criticism of the corporate tax cuts is that they're too little and too slow. The rest of the world has lowered their tax rates, their corporate tax rates. Australia has to move its corporate tax rates. Otherwise, foreign investment is just going to leave us behind. And it's not a matter of whether the benefits of the tax cuts trickle down to benefit wage earners and so forth. I don't think anybody really makes that argument to speak of. The question is Australia's competitiveness. America has lowered its tax rates. France has lowered its tax rates. England has. Most of the rest of the world now has substantially lower corporate tax rates than ours. So when you're looking at capital on an international basis, it's going to go where it has more of it left over to do some good with, and that's not Australia anymore. Used to be Australia was competitive, but it's not now. We have to lower our company tax rates, or we are going to miss out on foreign direct investment. Well, they're not. Oh, yeah, okay. Well, I see. Well, their proposal will delay it. Yeah, the reason it's actually being delayed is because they haven't got the numbers. But yeah, the reason that that they're proposing to introduce it so slowly is because they're so addicted to spending the money that they get. They're just spending holics. Spending money is their new religion. Right, I'm freezing. I'm going. Yeah.